Welcome back to ATL Day Ones. I am Tenitra. That is Jarvis. And you guys are part of the tribe of 4,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel for Locked On Sports Atlanta. So we appreciate you guys for continuing to support us. And don't forget, drop some comments into our YouTube space, right? So when you go and you check out ATL Day Ones on YouTube. You know what you can do? You can tell us what you think about the Braves, what our commentary is on the Braves, the Falcons, UGA, Georgia Tech. Even if you want to tell us how you do with homecoming at your HBCU, let us know. But certainly we want to hear from you guys about what you believe will happen this Sunday specifically as we begin to talk Falcons Browns. So the Falcons are coming off a high, of course, getting their first win of the season. They are back home and trying to get this first dub here. And they literally first dub of the season at home, back at the Benz, Sunday, Jarvis. This is what I'm thinking about as well. And there are a couple of different spaces and places that we can go in terms of what might tip the scales in the Falcons' favor. But if you think of just one thing that could be that difference for the Falcons against the Browns, what would that be?
You know what? When I started thinking about this, and I got a chance to go, you know how I go down a little rabbit hole sometimes when I feel like I'm stuck. I'm trying to figure out, like, okay, how can I take a look at this game? So, of course, I knew I had to check out my guy, Dean Pease and Dave Ragone. And after going through those things, I started thinking about it. Like, when you think about, how these teams are the style of play, right? They are very similar, like tough, want to run the football, be able to establish the run, and they have quarterbacks that, they don't want to have to ask to do too much, but make the necessary plays, right, off the run, when you're successful. So, and they've been pretty successful doing that. Both teams have 3 games in. Now, I started to think about something that, and I'm coming around to your boy, Coach Williams. When you think about two teams that are built the same way, I think you have to kind of go to a different sector of offense because people forget about special teams. I believe that if a guy like Avery Williams can get at least 2 first downs, that's probably about a 20-yard return, a 25-yard return, even a 30-yard return, sprinkle that in as these two teams are going back and forth and trying to, because I think this game's going to go by pretty quickly because both teams want to run the football. But I think if Avery Williams can figure out a way to break off a 20 to 30-yard punt return, I can think that can be the thing that can swing the momentum in the Falcons' favor.
Yeah, and I think the same. Like if you can flip the field, that is always in your favor. And if you're flipping the field and it's down to the last minute and these teams are literally tied, or the Falcons are within striking distance of being able to win the game, I will put my money on Younghoe Koo every single time. I really, really would. So to me,
that's an advantage Falcons right there.
I actually think it's going to be much closer than a lot of people think. Now, the other thing I think is of as well, what if both of these teams, and follow me on this one, what if both of these teams who basically have a 1-2 punch in the run game, granted, we're not saying that Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt equals, or Cordell Patterson and Tyler Algier equal Hunt and Chubb. Not saying that, but we do have 2 teams with solid running games. We do have 2 teams that in total have the top 5 running games in the league and 2 of the top 5 backs in the league. That said, let's call that equal. My thing is I want to see which quarterback actually shows up as more than just a game manager. Because think about it, Marcus Mariota and Jacoby Brissett, they're kind of like the Spider-Man. Me. But I think Jacoby Brissett has kind of come out on the edge just a little bit. I think he has a little bit of an edge, but that doesn't mean he has to have an edge in this game. So who do you think is actually going to be what I'm going to call the legit leader under center, as opposed to the game manager who might also be the key to winning this game?
You know what? I'm gonna take a different perspective, right? Just from looking at it on the opposite end. I'm not gonna necessarily look at game manager. Not saying that's what you were saying as far as being a negative, because Jacoby Brissett is a guy who really doesn't turn the football over. And when you think about the teams that he's played on, he's played for the Colts, played for the Patriots. They're all within the same, in that same kind of division as far as the Patriots go and the Dolphins, and so to speak. So that means that teams like what they see. So, hey, if we got an opportunity to bring a guy like this on, we know exactly what we're going to get. And I think that I trust Brissett a little bit more than I trust Mariota, because we talked about this yesterday. Mariota I need one clean game out of him, like, because the thing he does well, which is take off and avoid the rush and take off and get your 10 yards on scrambling for a first down. I think that needs to be used to his advantage. And I think that because there may be some times where somebody's not going to be open, but I think David Grohl brought up a really good. He said Marcus Mariota has done a pretty good. I don't know if I necessarily agree all the way with that, but I think that if there's an opportunity for Marcus Mariota to make a play, to stick in that pocket just a little bit longer, and make that and stick that ball in there to give Kyle Pitts an opportunity in the red zone, to make a play, I think he should take that. I think he should push the envelope, but he's gonna have to pick and choose his spot and be careful with that, because hey, you can't afford to turn the ball over in a game like this, because teams are somewhat similar when it comes to the style of play.
Indeed. And yes, in addition to him being able to hold on to the ball when appropriate, when he has pocket protection, understanding that when the pocket collapses, or if all of your receivers are covered, don't take a sack. Just try to get out of bounds, but just try to some better, I'll say, situational play from Mariota could make the difference. But let's just say we both agree on Jacoby Brissett maybe getting the advantage there if you're looking at the person who's going to truly be that leader under center. Let me throw another one out at you, because this could or could not, depending on how you see it, be an advantage for the Falcons. Now, we're still waiting on the final. So by the time you guys see this, we may actually know who will and won't play. We're waiting on the final injury report. So Jarvis and I are going to just give you a hypothetical right now. Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney. One can play, both can play, neither can play for the Browns. So my question is this: how do the Falcons kind of game plan for that? And if any of those scenarios, one plays, both play, neither plays, do you see any of those scenarios being advantage Falcons?
I see neither of them playing being an advantage for the Falcons, but but if you're talking about, and also if Myles Garrett doesn't play and Jadeveon plays, I can see that being somewhat of almost a push, maybe, depending on how things play out. The Falcons be taking advantage of that. But if both of those mofos play, excuse my language, kids, but oh my goodness, the Falcons are going to be in big test, and I think that the number one guy who's going to be tested the most has to be Jake Matthews, because he talked about it this week as far as he's preparing as if Myles Garrett is going to play, and he is a smart man, because if Garrett plays, that means he's healthy enough to be effective, and Myles Garrett at 75% is probably better than a lot of starting defensive ends, right? A lot of starting defensive end in this league. 75% Garrett, I'll take that any day over 100% of a lot of it. So yeah, I think there are two of those scenarios Falcons take advantage, but if Myles Garrett ends up playing and Jadeveon Clowney, we're going to be in for a long game, I believe.
Yeah, I think so as well. But I want to go back to something that you said that I think might be advantage Falcons as well, and that is if given the opportunity. And I definitely hedge my bets on Arthur Smith being able to call this kind of game in what I'm about to say. If Marcus Mariota is able to open it up and get deep with Kyle Pitts, get deep again with Drake London, I think that could be advantage Falcons as well, because let's face it, the one area of weakness for the defense really is their secondary. The one area for the Browns defense more than anything is their secondary. So they can be exploited if Mariota can do his job. And to your point, if the O-line can give him the time that he needs to hopefully find the first guy in his progression, but if not, have the opportunity to find the second guy in his progression, because there are some leaks in that secondary for the Browns. So that's one thing that I think, if played the right way, could be an advantage for the Falcons as well. But I think it'll be very interesting, because on the flip side, now the word that you and I have heard for the most part out of Flowery Branch is that Cordero Patterson really is resting that knee to
Right.
get back in play
Yep.
on Sunday. But I think this may be one of those situations where we're watching a chess game for both teams to see, okay,
Hmm.
who really is going to play? Are we going to see CP? Are we going to see Garrett? Are we going to see Clowney? It's going to be interesting. And then also, as we talk about the secondary for the Browns, it'll be an opportunity for the secondary for the Falcons to show up as well. We've spoken about this. AJ Terrell and kind of the ups and downs we've seen from him this season. I don't think
Right.
all of that is necessarily AJ Terrell. Sometimes that's just a good ball thrown
Yeah.
by the
Yeah.
quarterback,
It
and that's
happens.
just that
Yeah.
receiver getting a ball
Yeah.
that where it's placed where only he can get it, right? But I
Right.
do think this is an opportunity where we'll see AJ Terrell maybe go up against Amari Cooper and kind of see how that plays out, and the fact that there's an opportunity to limit big plays early, and if you can do that, that could be positive for the Falcons too.
Yeah, and I think that you'll be able to. We have a pretty good indication as to whether how that's going to play out, whether or not they're going to be able to contain those big plays, if they are
Hmm.
stopping or at least containing the run. If they aren't allowing big plays in the run game,
Yes.
you can play the long game because I'm
Hmm.
with DNPs. Like they can't rush for and get pressure consistently. So
Hmm.
yeah, you're gonna have to pick and choose your spots, and I think
Yes.
that DNPs is gonna do that. So if
Yeah.
they are able to contain that run, there's some potentially you're gonna have to force Jacoby Brissett to make a play, and then when you're doing that, hey,
Hmm.
I like my odds as a defensive coordinator.
Indeed. And I like the odds for the Falcons. And also, I like the odds for me to actually get up on time tomorrow morning and Sunday because I've got early morning weekends if I take my coffee AM, the tea side, of course. If I get my coffee AM, then I'm good to go because, whew, I do not like waking up early on weekends, but I'll do it if I have to when I have something like coffee AM nearby. So, as we tell you guys all the time, you always want to support local business. You always want to support small business as well. And they are the best small batch roaster in the country, right here in your backyard in Atlanta. And the good thing about them is they really do go all over the country, all over the world, getting the best ingredients for the coffee. And that's why when you order it, it's fresh and it tastes fresh and it
Hmm.
tastes different because they're going out there to get you the kind of coffee that hits different. So if you want to know more about it, you want to make an order, you go to coffeeam.com/backslash locked on. And if it's your first order, you can get 15% off. But I hope it's not your first order. Not that I don't want you to get your 15%, but I do want you to go back and be a repeat customer for the coffee, the tea, and the gift set. Again, coffeeam.com/backslash locked on. Get your 15% off on the first order and get your friends a gift. Don't keep it to yourself, just like we don't want you to keep this show to yourself. So when we come back, you guys know we are happy, supportive, excited HBCU grads, and we're going to tell you all about what season it is for HBCUs on the other side and for the culture.